in America.
We love coming here. It's intimate, and they do a great job.
Be part of the experience. Don't miss Desperate Measures, the new off-Broadway musical comedy that takes Shakespeare's classic to the Wild West. July 27th through August 6th. Johnny Blood's life is in peril after a saloon brawl. Will he be meeting his maker or pull off the greatest caper yet? Saddle up and see why audiences have branded Desperate Measures a grade A musical. For tickets to Desperate Measures, July 27th through August 6th, go to stmichaelsplayhouse.org.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
Mac Jones is good. That's not the question. The question is he good enough to win repeatedly in this loaded AFC?
The stories that matter to you.
If I'm Xander Bogaerts, I need three things in order to get over that insulting contract offer.
This is your home for New England sports.
Jason Tatum, superstar. Hook it.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Short show today up until 6:10, and then it's Red Sox baseball. Sox back at it with the Cleveland Guardians. Game 3 of a 4-game set at Fenway. Sox losing yesterday. We will talk with our Red Sox insider at NESN, Tom Caron, in about 15 minutes. We missed TC last week because I was on vacation. I did speak to Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio earlier today. Freddie is on vacation, but still made time for us. We talked a lot about the Patriots who are at training camp now, so that interview will be up here soon on our podcast channel once TC goes up after the show. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026 at your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and in Morrisville. So again, you can also check us out on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and my Twitter account too.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete, locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. You know, yesterday we talked about the Patriots, and I gave you my biggest storylines heading into training camp. We also played a piece of audio from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was really effusively praising Mac Jones. So we played that where Belichick said that Mac's taken a huge step forward in every step of the way, and he's starting from a much greater base of knowledge this year than last year, and they're really impressed with Mac. So we played that yesterday, and that was all well and good. Well, there was also effusive praise coming from Mac Jones's teammates, like longtime Pats captain Matthew Slater.
It's natural for people to look at Mac because he is the quarterback of this team. And, you know, I'm extremely biased. I think the young man is fantastic, and I think he's demonstrated great leadership from the day he walked in this building. And I think he'll continue to do so. And I think, you know, we're all excited about, you know, what he's going to be and what he's going to provide, not just as a player, but as a leader for this organization. He continues to grow in that role. And ultimately, look, this is going to be his team.
Ultimately, this is going to be his team. This is going to be Mac Jones's team. That's a powerful quote from Matthew Slater, from the most respected person in that locker room. It's Mac Jones's team now. It's not Tom Brady's team. It's not the remnants of Tom Brady's team. It's not Dante Hightower's team or Julian Edelman's team or Patrick Chung's team. And it's not Cam Newton's team. It is now Mac Jones's team. So my question for you, 802-585-3026. What do we want a Mac Jones team to be like? What does a Mac Jones team look like? What does it act like? What is a Mac Jones-led team where he has firmly put his stamp on it? What does that team look like for the Patriots? For me, I want to see a fun Mac Jones. And by extension, I want a Mac Jones-led team to be fun. I do believe that Mac Jones has a personality that is infectious, and I believe that Mac Jones has a personality that is ready to break out. We saw a totally different side of Mac Jones at the Pro Bowl last year than we saw all last season. And I wondered, is that the real Mac Jones, or is it just for show? But based on what we've seen throughout the rest of the offseason, it seems like that is the real Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a guy with a bigger personality than we've given him credit for. And I want Mac Jones to display that personality. I want him to continue to grow into that personality. And I hope that Bill Belichick will let that personality come out. Mac Jones has played for some pretty suppressive coaches over the last several years. Nick Saban doesn't allow a whole lot of personality. Bill Belichick is getting better at it. He certainly let Cam be Cam. But he's not known for letting guys bring out personality. I want Mac Jones to be the guy we saw. If this is going to be a Mac Jones-led team, like Matthew Slater said, this is his team. I want Mac to be fun, and I want this team to be an extension of him. Now, he's not going to have the personality that Cam Newton had. He's not that big of a personality. But he also doesn't have to be stoic and workmanlike every second of the day like Tom Brady. There was all this talk last year that Mac is Tom Brady. The Pats have the next Tom. They have an extension of Tom. I don't want that. I think that Mac has more in there. Last year, he was just doing what you're supposed to do, right? He's a rookie. Come in, shut up, put your head down, work hard, learn the playbook, don't ruffle feathers. That's what a rookie does. That's what most rookies should do. And that's what Mac did, and he did it well. This year, the team is his. There's more ownership. The guys are looking at him. And if they're looking at him, they need him to be himself. I think that players are at their best when they are themselves. And I believe that Mac Jones has more in the tank than we saw a season ago. I think he can bring a different quality to this team and a different quality out of this team. Play a little looser. Play a little quicker. I heard talk today that the offense is a little simpler without Josh McDaniels there. They want to get to the line and they want to go. I think that this team, I'm drinking the training camp day one Kool-Aid. I get that. I still got all the same questions about Mac I've always had, but I'm drinking today the day one training camp Kool-Aid. The offense is simpler. The offense is going to play a little quicker. The offense is going to get to the line faster. The offense is going to play with rhythm. The offense is going to be fun. The offense, it sounds like, is going to be fun. Get in, get out, get the ball out on time. I think that Mac has a chance to excel in that kind of system. He doesn't Tom Brady is rigid. He is regimented. Mac Jones is detail-oriented, but he doesn't have to be as rigid as Brady was. As he gets more comfortable, I want to see that fun element that Mac can bring to the table. Like, that fun element, that personality, that alone doesn't make you a contender. I've said it multiple times since last February. It's got to be about more than just what's above the shoulders. But I do believe that you are at your best when you are being who you are. And as Mac Jones continues to grow into that, I think he'll bring a different element to this team. I am excited about his growth as a leader. He certainly has the backing of his teammates. Like, guys like Slater respect the hell out of him. And that goes a long way. That is very, very important. 802-585-3026. A couple of texts here on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. A Mac Jones team is going to be buttoned up, as Colin Cowherd might say. He's going to be all business this season. See, that's interesting that the texter phrases it that way. See, buttoned up in all business strikes me as regimented. It strikes me as boring. I think there is a difference between, like, I think Mac is going to be fun, but I think he's going to be disciplined. Just because you have a personality, I don't think makes you undisciplined. I don't think makes you problematic. I don't think means that you're not focused. I think that Mac Jones will be all business in the meeting room, in the weight room. I think he's going to put in a ton of work in studying film and studying the playbook. But I think out on the field, I think we're going to see a little more personality. He was talking trash in the Pro Bowl. I mean, somewhere if we dig into the archives here, he's got audio of the Pro Bowl. Now, I remember, let me see here if I can find it real quick as I talk. I remember Mac Jones. Was it Darius Slay of the Eagles? I think that's who it was. I think he was talking smack in the Pro Bowl. So Pro Bowl is in January. Let's see if we can find clips from January here. But let's see. Yeah, I don't have it right now. But we do have, somewhere in here is Mac talking smack at the Pro Bowl and having a great time. And that's the guy that I want to see. That's the guy that I want to see more of this year. Just because you're like that does not mean that you are not professional. That doesn't mean that you are not professional. So, hey, real quick, one storyline that I wanted to get to yesterday, and I gave you 6 storylines for the Pats at training camp. They were all important. There was one that I left out that is a big deal. The Patriots have to figure out what to do with Jonnu Smith. Because Jonnu Smith, the tight end, got a huge deal last year. He averaged less than 2 catches a game for the Patriots. He had 28 catches in 16 games played. I mean, obviously, you need more from him. How do they get it? Athletically, Jonnu Smith is a weapon. We talk about this team needing playmakers. He has the physical skill set to be a playmaker. How do they get him there? Maybe it's him lining up out wide. Maybe it's him lining up in the slot at wide receiver. Maybe it's him in tight as a tight end. Maybe it's him in the backfield in some way. Maybe they're running end arounds with him again this year. I don't know, but Jonnu Smith needs to be a part of this thing. Your new offensive coaching staff, your triumvirate of Belichick, Patricia, and Judge, they have to find a way to set Jonnu Smith up for success. Jonnu Smith didn't come here and all of a sudden become a bad player. They need to find ways to get him the ball and help bring the best out of him. That is the job of a player, is to study, come in shape, and work your tail off. The job of a coach is to get you ready for success. And the Patriots coaching staff needs to find a way to get Jonnu Smith in a spot to be successful. Okay? Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Tyquan Thornton. There are a lot of guys there. And while there's no true alpha, there are a lot of good players there. They all need to contribute, and Jonnu Smith needs to figure out a way. They need to figure out a way to get Jonnu Smith involved here this season, because less than 2 catches a game is obviously not going to cut it. You know what else isn't cutting it? The Red Sox. Red Sox currently at 500. Red Sox currently in last place in the American League East. What exactly are they thinking with the trade deadline a week from now, essentially? Sox insider Tom Caron. He's going to join us next here on DEV.
Get ready to dance this weekend. Head to Fars Field on the night of Saturday, July 30th for an awesome night out. They're going to play that funky music, so put your boogie shoes on and walk this way. You can bust a move and don't stop till you get enough as you get foot loose and dance to the music from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. This fun community dance starts at dusk, but they'll pump up the jam late into the night. Dress up or down, BYOB, and get ready for some slow dancing too. Learn more, including how to buy tickets at discoverwaterbury.com/calendar. Discover your groove in Waterbury.
Create, connect, and celebrate with neighbors and loved ones at the Grange Hall Cultural Center, 317 Howard Ave, Waterbury Center, Vermont. There are multiple spaces available to suit your event. Hold your meeting, workshop, performance, or family gathering and be part of the action in Waterbury's historical gathering place. Look for the exciting community events this summer, including React, an art exhibition opening August 11th, and a swing dance event August 27th. The Grange Hall Cultural Center is the place for all your gathering needs. GrangeHallCC@gmail.com or 802-244-4168.
Hi, I'm Jared Duvall, a candidate to represent Washington County, Stowe, Orange, and Braintree in the Vermont State Senate. I'm deeply rooted in Vermont and Vermont values, and I am a strong Democrat with extensive statewide experience in crafting progressive energy and economic policy. For over 20 years, I've dedicated my life to advancing clean energy solutions to the climate crisis, into helping build a more sustainable and equitable economy that works better for working class families like the one I grew up in. I believe that politics matters because policy matters, and that policy matters because people matter. I am a member of the Vermont Climate Council and co-author of Vermont's Climate Action Plan. I also served as Vermont Economic Development Director. For more information, I hope you'll visit jaredduvalvt.com. That's JaredDuvalVT.com. Thank you, and I hope to earn one of your up to 3 votes in the Democratic primary on or before August 9th. I'm Jared Duval, and I approve this ad, paid for by Duval for State Senate.
Looking for the latest information on the Red Sox?
Not only is David Ortiz a Hall of Famer, but he is one of the best of the best.
How about the Bruins?
Are they a Stanley Cup champion? Probably not as presently constructed, but they're a playoff team.
And you've come to the right place. We talk now with Nesson insider Tom Caron.
Baseball isn't boring because there's still nothing like the communal gathering of fans at a baseball game.
On the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah, welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV. I do have Tom Caron waiting for us, so we'll get to TC momentarily. But Red Sox baseball coming up tonight with our coverage beginning at 6:10. First pitch 7:10. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound. The Red Sox are struggling, right? They've lost, what did I say, 6 of their last 7 in the afternoon news service. They're 49-49 here as we close in on 100 games played on the season. I mean, they are a team now that is on the outside looking into the playoff picture, 3.5 back of a playoff spot. They are in last place right now in the American League East, and times are not all happy here as the trade deadline sneaks up on us here about a week from now. Joining us is our Sox insider over at Nesson, Tom Caron. TC, I missed you last week while I was on vacation. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Brady?
Excellent. I appreciate you being with us as always. Missed you last week while I was on vacation. Red Sox right now are 49-49. They're 3.5 games back of the final wild card spot. They're currently in last place in the American League East. Before we talk about the team and the trade deadline, let's talk about your weekend in Cooperstown, because you were there for Big Papi. You did great coverage. I followed it on vacation on Nesson's social media channels. That was your first time at the Hall of Fame induction as a worker, I know. What was your overall thoughts and experience at Cooperstown?
Really an incredible trip. I mean, it's a bucket list item. Anybody who loves baseball should get out there. I'd been to Cooperstown before, but never for the induction. They really do a great job. On Saturday, the Parade of Legends with about 50 Hall of Famers. And, you know, even for those of us who've covered the game a long time, you feel like a little kid again watching these guys you watched as a kid come back out. You know, but literally I bumped into Johnny Bench at one point on Main Street. I mean, you know, for a guy my age, it was really cool. And then to just watch David Ortiz, even surrounded by the biggest stars to ever shine in baseball, he is still the centerpiece, stealing the spotlight. It couldn't have gone better. I thought he gave a great speech. I think I counted off about 50 names he included in his speech, people he thanked for everything they did for him. And he went 19 minutes, came back to Fenway Park last night. We had another ceremony for him, came on the show. You could tell the emotion was catching up with him because it's been a long few days. But what an incredible weekend, and just thrilled to be a part of it. You know, I'm not a guy who parsed through Ortiz's speech and was trying to play gotcha games with him. I did find it interesting he didn't mention Bobby Valentine. Did you think that he should have mentioned? I know they didn't get along. I know the team was awful. I know it was only a year. But he went out of his way to thank everybody else in the Red Sox organization. Yeah, no, it's pretty funny, especially the way he said John Farrell then took over for Terry Francona. Yeah. Well, it didn't quite go down that way. But, yeah, no, I wasn't surprised, but it certainly was a very obvious omission that he chose not to bring that year up. Well, I loved watching Big Papi's speech. I loved the coverage yesterday. We had it obviously on the radio feed here on DEV. So it was a great weekend for Big Papi, and it culminated last night at Fenway in front of the hometown faithful. Let's look at the team in general. Man, this is a tough spot. They are in baseball purgatory right now. They're 3.5 back. They're in last place. They're in last place in the division, 3.5 back in the wild card, but they're still within shouting distance of the playoffs. So as the trade deadline looms, what exactly do you think they're inclined to do? I really don't know. I mean, I had Chaim Bloom on the show last night, and I asked him all those questions, you know, how much the next week matters. And he says you can't get caught up in a small sample. But if you go back, 2019 is a great example on the other way. They probably should have blown that up. They probably could have got more from Mookie Betts if they traded him at the trade deadline instead of after the season. But if you remember, they went on like a 7-1 roll right before the trade deadline. So Dave Dombrowski stood pat, and then they lost 8 straight immediately after the trade deadline, and that was that. And you know, while Chaim Bloom says we can't get caught up in what happens this week, I think you can. Because I think if they lose 5 of the next 6, you got to sell. Because the train is starting to pull out of the station here. Forget about last place, even though that's a bad look for this team right now. It's all about the wild card. It has been for 3 months now. And they're 3.5 back. They are in striking distance. But when are they going to get Devers back? When are they going to get Trevor Story back? When are they going to get Michael Walker and Rich Hill back? When are they going to get Matt Strahm back? I mean, they need all these guys because these are key pieces they are missing right now. And if they're 5 or 6 out of the wild card race by Sunday, I find it hard to believe they will invest in any major pieces to add to this team.
We're talking with Red Sox insider Tom Caron at Nesson with us here on the Brady Farkas Show. He's with us every Wednesday here on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. You know, we hear a lot the idea the Red Sox could be both buyers and sellers. Could you see them holding on to Bogaerts and making some minor additions to the bullpen while also trading Nathan Eovaldi? And Buster Olney said yesterday that JD Martinez is perceived to be available.
Yeah, I think it'd be tough to trade Eovaldi because their pitching is so thin right now, unless you really are selling. I think if they go, there's 3 ways to go here. They go full sell-off mode, they go 50-50, or they go full buy mode. I don't think they're going to go full buy mode. I really don't think they're going to go full sell mode, and that would be trading Bogaerts, trading JD Martinez, trading Nathan Eovaldi. I think they're going to be, as Buster said, somewhere in the middle. And I think if you're in the middle, you have to keep the pitcher because you don't have much pitching. But JD Martinez is a guy who would absolutely draw a lot of interest. And I think one guy that hasn't been talked about is Christian Vasquez. He's one of the best catchers and best hitting catchers in baseball. And we've seen him play in first base. Part of him playing first base, I think, reminds you that Kevin Plawecki could be the primary catcher for the rest of his team. So that's an example where you could trade Christian Vasquez, maybe also trade JD Martinez, and bring in a first baseman, bring in a pitcher or 2. So you're actually keeping your current hopes alive while still selling off some pieces.
You know, it was interesting. I was listening to the radio broadcast in the pregame show yesterday, and Rob Bradford was talking, and he brought up an idea that I hadn't thought of before. What if could Xander Bogaerts opt in, stay in his deal? And it's been a foregone conclusion he was going to opt out. But the shoulder is nagging. He's only got 7 home runs. He's been largely devoid of power. He's been more of a slap hitter right now, a gap-to-gap hitter than a power hitter. Is there a chance that he could just opt in and make things a little easier for the Red Sox?
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, isn't it? One we absolutely thought there was no chance of. Now, the fact that he's a Scott Boras client makes me think, no, that wouldn't happen. But to Rob's point, if he continued struggling over the rest of this season, and again, struggling by his standards, remember last night, 3 hits, 2 doubles, it's still a guy who can hit. But how much more would he get on the open market? Another $5 million a year? That's a lot of money. But is it a lot of money to uproot everything and go to a new organization when you've been happy here? So maybe there is a way to opt in or to say, I'll opt in, but can you add something? Maybe there's a way to get a deal done. I don't see him just accepting what's left on his contract, but I still think there's a chance that he can hit free agency and the Red Sox can get a deal done.
TC, let's talk about Chaim Bloom. I've defended Chaim Bloom a lot. I'm a fan of the methodology of roster building. I've all the pitchfork people have been out, and I've been warding them off for years on this. But let me ask you this. While I agree with the methodology that Chaim Bloom employs, is it fair to question the return or the eye for talent is too strong? But look, Franchi Cordero hasn't given them a whole lot. Josh Winkowski hasn't given them a whole lot right now. So some of the guys that he has brought in, while I agree with the deals, they all haven't panned out. Or is it fair to at least question the guys they're getting in these deals?
Of course. And you always should. But I mean, nobody bats 1,000 in the GM's office.
Yeah.
And some of the deals have been really good, right? Pavetta alone won that deal because, Workman and Embry really didn't amount to anything after they were traded. The Schwarber deal certainly worked last year. Michael Chavis is hitting pretty well, but Austin Davis has been one of their better relievers. So you go up and down the line. You're absolutely right so far. The Benintendi deal, Winkowski, it looked like he was making a good deal, and I still think he's got a good future, but maybe he's better off as a reliever this year. And Cordero has regressed to the mean. There's no doubt about that. But there's 3 more minor leaguers in that deal. The Hunter Renfroe for Bradley deal. Bradley hasn't improved enough at the plate, but you got 2 minor leaguers there. So, these are all long-term deals that you have to look at from a wider view. But sure, absolutely, he has not blown away what they've gotten. I mean, it begins with the Mookie Betts deal, right? Verdugo's been good, not great. And Jeter Downs, we'll see. But the bat certainly looks like you can question it. Connor Wong hasn't had much of a chance. Meantime, Mookie Betts is being Mookie Betts. So, sure. Have you gotten enough in some of these deals? No.
What frustrates me is that there seem to be people who are just like, the Red Sox are cheap, Bloom is cheap, and Papelbon was ripping him on WEEI last week saying he's trying to bring the Rays to Boston. So it's like you want him to spend. What people seem to realize, or fail to realize, I guess, is that all the good teams in baseball are trying to find these nickel and dime type guys. The Yankees are in first place by a zillion games. I didn't check my bingo card to see Jose Trevino and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Miguel Castro being big ticket items this offseason.
No, that's exactly right. And if you look at, I guess the Dodgers are the gold standard right now in baseball, right? But Andrew Friedman built up the farm system before he started adding the big pieces. I still think Chaim Bloom will get to that, and I actually think Rafael Devers will be the guy that they have. I mean, he's so young. He's a cornerstone piece. I can understand. I love Xander Bogaerts, and I think they should keep him, but I understand from a strictly statistical analysis why maybe you don't want to tie up the long-term money in him at this stage of his career as he enters his 30s. So I get some of those. I get, the guys who are closing in on free agency, J.D. Martinez, and Christian Vasquez, and Nathan Eovaldi. I get not wanting to overspend on any of those. Devers, though, represents a young guy, a cornerstone guy that you have the resources to get done. And to me, that'll be the litmus test. If they let Devers go or if they trade Devers, then all the criticism is fair. Then Chaim Bloom really does want to operate with a Tampa Bay ethos. But I think he wants to be the Dodgers, and I think he is still, with year 3. I asked him last night, how far along are you in the process? He says, you never really get to the end point. You keep building. But it's going to take time for him to fix up the farm system and then add those cornerstone pieces on the top of the entire foundation.
TC, I'll get you out of here on this. You've been running around. You were in Cooperstown. You're covering the team. I don't expect you to have a full draft report here for the Red Sox, but I was on vacation as the draft was going on. Just kind of what you're hearing about how the Red Sox did in the draft as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, the reports are, and the scouts I talked to say they did well. A couple of guys they took a chance on. If they can sign them, they've done really well. A couple of guys, fell to them because other teams are worried they could not sign them. But if the Red Sox are willing to pay overslot on some guys, underslot on others, they did that last year, if you remember, kind of surprising to people with some of their picks, picking guys a little higher and paying them less to save money for guys they could sign later. And that all sounds a little convoluted, but in the end, if they sign all the guys they drafted, I think it's a very, very good draft, and it'll continue the development and the building of that foundation we just talked about.
Well, we'll see how the rest of the roster building goes here over the course of the next week. Red Sox and the Guardians tonight with our coverage beginning at 6:10. Nathan Eovaldi on the mound looking to get right. He hasn't been the same since coming back from the injured list a couple of weeks ago. Tom Caron, Red Sox and Bruins insider over at Nesson. No Bees talk today, all Sox. TC, have a great week. We'll talk to you in 7 days, and we'll see who's still on the roster by that point.
Yeah, it'll be next Wednesday. It'll be interesting. It'll be the morning after, and the dust will be settling, and we'll have to figure out what that all means.
Yeah, we will. Thanks so much to Tom Caron, Red Sox insider at Nesson. Peter in Williston says TC is the best, so glued into the heartbeat of the sports that he covers. I'm glad he had a good time in Cooperstown. It is a absolute blast to go to the Hall of Fame induction. I've never worked it, but I've gone to it twice, and it is just a remarkable experience, a very memorable experience. And TC doesn't know exactly what the Red Sox should be doing at the deadline either. Again, I think their best thing to do is buy and sell, but a lot of the guys you would sell can't move because they're injured, right? Strom, Kike, these guys are busted up right now. Hill, Walker, I'd trade all those guys if there was a market for them. There likely isn't. I want to keep Vasquez. I want to keep Martinez. I want to keep Evaldi. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have Buster on tomorrow, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more. We'll be another day closer to the deadline. We'll see what happens, but the Red Sox are in a very precarious situation. Jason Tatum had some interesting comments about the whole Kevin Durant and Jaylen Brown thing. We'll tell you what those were next.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren. 96.5 W243 AT Berry. 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier. AM 550
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. The Fed's latest interest rate hike is going to cost you.
It's going to cost more to get a mortgage. It's going to cost more to get an auto loan. If you owe money on your credit card, you're going to have to start paying more on that.
That's Moody's economist Mark Sandy.
I'm Tom Foti. The chairman of the Federal Reserve says central bank officials do know what they are dealing with.
My colleagues and I are acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship, especially on those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation.
So the Fed is making it more expensive to borrow money and thus try to force a cutback in spending and hopefully prices. And could do it again, says the Fed chairman. It depends if inflation slows or doesn't.
The U.S. says it's offered a deal to Russia to get Americans back home. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
The administration won't confirm reports that the proposal would have the U.S. releasing convicted arms dealer and so-called merchant of death Victor Bout to secure Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan's return. White House spokesman John Kirby says the decision to announce an unspecified but substantial offer now was based in part on Griner testifying in Moscow that she was never fully informed of her rights.
President Biden is COVID-free.
The entire time I was in isolation, I was able to work, to carry out the duties of the office and without any interruption.
He credits vaccines and other treatments. 2 former police officers convicted of violating George Floyd's civil rights were sentenced today. Alexander King got 3 years in prison and Tu Tao got 3.5. Floyd's girlfriend, Courtney Ross.
I'm really disappointed. The sentence, particularly for Tu Tao, didn't really seem to match the crime to me.
The jury says both cops did nothing to help Floyd. A suspected mass shooter has been indicted on dozens of new charges.
117 felony counts, including murder and attempted murder. That is what Robert Cremo III now faces in the shooting that left 7 people dead and more than 30 wounded on July 4th in Highland Park, Illinois. He had initially been charged with 7 counts of murder. Prosecutors say the 21-year-old suspect admitted to the parade shooting. Cremo is to be arraigned on the new charges next Wednesday. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News, Chicago.
California's largest wildfire is now 32% contained, but people are still evacuating.
I just grabbed whatever I could and got out of there. And that's the best we could do.
The fires burned nearly 19,000 acres. Mega Millions? Try $1 billion. That's how high the jackpot's gone up.
Even $1,000 would help. With gas prices, just saying.
We hear you, girl. That next drawing is on Friday. This is CBS News.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Visit libertymutual.com to learn more.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
At Northfield Savings Bank, our mortgage bankers aren't just bankers. We're your neighbors. That means you won't just get competitive mortgage rates and fast local decision-making. You also get bankers who live and work where you live and work. So whether you're buying your first home or downsizing, before you make such a big financial decision, talk to a banker who's not just a mortgage expert, but who knows what really matters to us here in Vermont. Visit us today at nsbvt.com/mortgages and meet your bankers. Northfield Savings Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
In times of fear, World Vision is there for the most vulnerable. For the last 70 years, we've been standing with kids and families through natural disasters, war, and disease, delivering life-saving aid and helping rebuild lives. And with every act of courage, faith, and love, we do more than just stop the spread of fear. We replace it with hope. Learn more at worldvision.org.
New message. What up, what up? It's Heather's cousin. You dated her in college, or maybe you were just in the same class. Anyway, I heard you bought a boat, my man. Let's hit the water. Oh, and Heather told me you always liked snacks and stuff, so I could totally bring some chips.
When you get a boat, you also get new friends. Make sure Progressive's one of them, and get coverage today for as little as $100 a year.
Hey, also, I'm a little short on cash, so can you cover the chips? Thanks. I can see why Heather liked you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy not available in all states.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
All right, Red Sox baseball less than 5 minutes from now. We'll give you those Sox lineups here momentarily as they get ready for Game 3 of this series against the Cleveland Guardians. But interesting stuff today from Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum was he was asked, how do you feel about the Jaylen Brown rumors? How do you feel about maybe playing with Kevin Durant? And Tatum gave very diplomatic answers. He also said, hey, I don't make roster decisions. He said, I don't put a general manager hat on. And on one hand, I can appreciate I can appreciate him wanting to shy away from that controversy, right? We all get upset sometimes when players think they have too much power. Here's Tatum telling you, look, I don't know nothing. I just work here. So I can appreciate that. On the other hand, though, I don't really buy it, do I? Jason Tatum says, I don't put my GM hat on. Jason Tatum has input in this organization. And if you think he doesn't, I've got a bridge to sell you somewhere where there's not a bridge. I've got a second bridge to put up over Lake Champlain for you. I mean, Brad Stevens called in Tatum and a few others as part of the hiring process last year. It was Tatum, who he had to sign off on Ime Udoka being the guy, right? His recommendation, his belief in Udoka went a long way. So don't tell me that you don't have any say in the organization. You do. Or at least I don't believe that you don't. So if this move were going to happen, I believe that Jason Tatum would at least be made aware of it. So when Tatum says, I don't know nothing, I just work here, it is the right answer publicly. I just don't believe that it's true. And the other thing that I find interesting is that he didn't give Jaylen Brown a vote of confidence. It was a little telling that he didn't say anything about Jaylen Brown specifically. Now, he said, I love the guys we've got. Tatum said basically, I don't know nothing. I just work here. I love the guys we've got. He did say that, but he did not mention Jaylen Brown specifically. And I don't know that it's the world's biggest deal, but I think it's interesting that he didn't mention Brown by name, because if he had, that would have been telling too. If he had said, hey, I love JB. JB's my guy. We've been building. We've grown together. I want to see this through. I want to win with him. That would carry some weight, would it not? He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He said, I love the guys we've got, and that's important. But he didn't go out of his way to prop up Jaylen Brown. He didn't go out of his way to send a message to the organization that, no. JB and I are doing this together. Is it huge that he didn't mention him by name? Maybe not. Would it have been huge if he did mention him by name and give him a vote of confidence? Yes, it would have been. I absolutely believe that. I don't know nothing. I just work here. Well, you have a little more pull than that. And I love the guys we've got. That's good. It's not as good as I love Jaylen Brown specifically. Text comes in. That's interesting. It makes you wonder what Tatum has told Brad Stevens about playing with Durant. I agree with you, Brady, 100%. Thank you very much to the texter. The Guardians are 49-47. They're a game up on the Sox, who are 49-49. Cal Quantrill 7-5 with a 3.75 for Cleveland. Nathan Eovaldi 4-3 with a 4-3 for the Sox. Stephen Kwan leads off again in left for Cleveland. Ahmed Rosario's at short. Jose Ramirez at third. Josh Naylor at first. Franmil Reyes, the DH. Owen Miller at second. Nolan Jones in right. Austin Hedges, the catcher, and Miles Straw. He rounds out the lineup. He's in center field and bats ninth. 13 steals on the year for Straw. Jaron Duran is back. He leaves off in center. Alex Verdugo hits second. He's in left. Xander Bogaerts is at short. JD Martinez, the DH. Christian Vasquez, the catcher. Franchi Cordero at first. Bobby Dahlbeck at third. Jackie Bradley Jr. in right. And Yolmer Sanchez is the second baseman. I omit Sanchez because he hasn't played that many games, but 6 through 8 in this Red Sox lineup. 218 for Franchi, 200 for Dahlbeck, 210 for JBJ. Certainly not the bottom of the order you want as you're trying to chase a playoff berth. We're back at it with Buster Olney again tomorrow. He'll be with us at 5:45. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Sox.
This is